playing in this Tournament of Champions. I think it's been one of the great things that has happened to Michigan State University and our basketball program, but our university in general, the number of alums and people that kind of plan I don't know if it's a vacation, it's maybe a gathering of sorority, fraternity, brothers and sisters. I think Magic's coming in. It's just one of those things that a lot of your former alums, donors, boosters have kind of gone to over the years. And over the past 10 years, the event has become a signature event. I don't think there's any question. And for us to be a part of that is an honor. We've had a couple of days now, a game since our loss. We've had a win against Southern Indiana, and yet tomorrow's at a different level. We know that. We've had really good practices the last 2 days. And with Duke, I watched their game when they lost at home. Like I said, everybody's struggling to find out who they are and what they are. They have 3 really, really, really good players. But Jeremy Roach is a guy that hurt us 3 years ago, whatever it was. It was a freshman or sophomore. We played Duke in the tournament. He hit those big threes late in the game when we were up. And he almost left last year, still there. Proctor was a kid that definitely was, him and Filipowski could have definitely left last year, and they both came back. So with Roach, he's been a 3-year starter. Proctor, a 2-year starter. Filipowski is a 2-year starter. He's averaging 25 points, 7 rebounds in the first 2 games. And the other guy with some experience is Mitchell. So unlike a lot of Duke teams, they do have some experienced guys. They do have guys that have started. They do have guys that have played, and they do have guys that have turned down chances to go to the NBA last year. I think the biggest thing, they've got the kid Young from Northwestern that is playing 15, 18 minutes a game. And, we're just going to have to shoot the ball better. Big surprise. We've shot it well this week. But that's not all I'm looking at. I'm looking at, can we rebound the ball better? They struggled at the same time in their last game. They were getting out-rebounded. I think it was 29-15 at halftime. So as you're seeing around college basketball, everybody's trying to figure out who they got, what they got, and that's what we're trying to do too. And I still like what we got. We got to put guys in better position to be successful. AJ would be one of them. And yet we got to get a little bit more out of a couple guys. Malik and Jaden would be those 2 guys. So questions I'll take.
Hey, Tom, I want to have a little fun with this one. Imagine someone's living under...
There's no fun this week, but go ahead.
No fun? Okay, I'll try. I'll try to prep it. Imagine they're living under a rock or come from a distant planet, and all they know about Duke and Michigan State is that you guys have multiple championships. What would you tell them the difference between the programs are and the similarities are?
Well, they have a few more multiples than we do.
I knew that part. I tried to count
championship. But, listen, this has been a very good rivalry in its own way for 2 teams that aren't in the same conference. Unfortunately, they have won more than we have, but I think 90% of the games have been very, very, very good games. And I expect this will be a dogfight too. They're very talented, very talented. They play a lot of 3 guards. In fact, sometimes they're playing 3-point guards. So what I would say is it's 2 programs that have done it the right way, 2 programs that there's been great respect for. I'm a little mad at Mike that he didn't let us win a few more of those games, but other than that, I recruited John Shire. I've known John. He's done a good job there. Some of the staff's the same, and yet it'll be different. Not looking down there and not seeing Mike Krzyzewski. That'll be different for me, for sure. And but they're in good hands. They're doing well, and hopefully we are too.
Hey, Tom, last week you mentioned that the freshmen weren't going to be able to save you in a game like this. So I'm wondering, with your veterans? What is the message to them or the challenge? Do they, is it just unspoken, they know what this is, or do you try to light a fire under them
I
for
think
this
some
too?
of them have played, AJ and Malik have played in that game a few years ago, and they know what the Duke-Michigan State game is. They know what the Tournament of Champions is. I mean, at some point in time, and this is a game that's one of the most watched nights of basketball the whole year. And I just try to express upon them, that doesn't happen to everybody. This is an opportunity and it's a privilege. And I think we'll get our best game, Now, I also think they're awfully good and every bit deserving of their rankings. But the rankings are so difficult right now because nobody knows who anybody has or what all these changes have meant. So we're all just trying to find ourselves. I'm sure they are too. I'm sure there's things they liked. I'm sure there's a few things they didn't like. And I definitely think that the freshmen are, they dummied down their playing group a little bit. And as far as not just playing, but minutes played. And these are games that veterans should be the focal point. But we're still going to play our freshmen. We're going to play them. But we'll see how much.
And then real quick, just off that, speaking of freshmen, is the plan for Gehrig to redshirt right now, or is that still up in the air? We just didn't see him last week.
It's the plan, and I talked to his family, and I talked to him, and the way he shot it in practice the last 2 weeks, you'd say why, but we also think he's got to get stronger and some things he's got to improve on. He's a very good athlete. We're very high on Gehrig, we're very high, to the point where I told his parents we may unredshirt him. You take a look at these couple of games, we'll take a look at these couple of games. We're not going to do that in January, but for right now, for some strange reason, the NCAA has given football a chance to redshirt on Christmas Eve, and basketball, gets 2 exhibition games. I'm not sure I'm for or against many things, but if they get a third of the year, we've been fighting on our committee. That definitely should be something, but who knows how people look at things. But that makes it very, very difficult. And he was hurt the first exhibition game, if you remember. So the game plan is to try to do it. That is not etched in stone yet. That'll be something that Gehrig and I and his parents and my staff figure out in the near future.
Tom, you had so many matchups against Mike over the years. Just wondering what it's like to prepare for a Duke program without him, and does it seem a lot different? I know, or did John kind of keep everything, from the outside at least, looking pretty similar?
I think John's doing a lot. I mean, you learn from your mentor, and that's the way you play. And some of those players were here when Mike was here, and Roach, unfortunately, is one of their best players, and he's been there through a long time. And but I'm going to miss Mike. I saw him on the sidelines the other night. In fact, I just sent him a text this morning. I am going to, you look at different things, and as always, when somebody's on top, they're the target. But he did a lot for college basketball. He did a lot for Duke basketball. And I always felt our relationship and our games, I told him at the end, you probably, you've always been good to me. And he said, well, that's because I like you. I said, that's because you beat me. I said, if you didn't beat me, would you like me as much? But we did get a couple at the end there that really mattered. But all in all, the job he's done there is legendary, deserves to be legendary. And on this one night, because it's been such a special thing for so many years, I'll miss it, we were there when he broke the record, I think, in New York, right? And I felt like a sacrificial lamb. There were more Dukies than Carter got liver pills in New York, and but it's also been a privilege, and I value that privilege.
Tom, you've been pretty critical of AJ specifically over the last 2 games. What do you want to see from him more?
No, I've not been critical of AJ. I've been critical of him in one game because I didn't think he did as much. If I did in 2 games, I'm always going to be wanting more out of my point guard, especially a guy that's that's done it year after year. He practiced really well this week, you know. It's almost like, for some strange reason, you know, I need him and I think he needs me. It's kind of a neat deal. But I do respect the changes he's made this summer, the practice, the things he did all summer. I still think once in a while you revert back and get a little lazier. You don't push it as much as you should. Or I think right now I am looking for him to be me on the court. I think you have to have a leader on the court that rallies the other players. And so if I'm critical of something, I'm critical of that. But you never be critical of something you don't think you can get. You just accept it. You know, I'm going to be critical if that's what you call it. I call it coaching, but I'm going to be critical if he's not giving me all the things that I think, that I know he can give me. And I know he wants it. I mean, we've had 2 million talks. In fact, I'm exaggerating. It's been more than that. And really, a lot of times, a lot better than people think. It's just, it's a critical position. And I did look back on one of those games and I said, you know, I told my staff, we have to put him in the right position too. You know, you're not gonna take a option quarterback and make him throw 50 times a game, you know. So we have to do a better job too, and that's part of it. But if there's anything I'm critical of, I think in his 4th year, he needs to be the best conditioned guy. I think he needs to be the best leader on my team. And so I'm going to constantly push for that. So I didn't mean it either way, but trust me, if I was really mad at AJ, like sometimes it seems like, I wouldn't be playing him. I'm starting him. He started all last year. I wouldn't be playing him.
And then one quick, it's not really a follow-up, it's totally separate, but I think I was scrolling on social media. Did Magic come talk to the group recently, or was that like an old photo that I came across?
Yeah, I just flew him in, you know, on his jet. I flew him in here and I said, Urban, you know, I got people mad at me where we shot poorly, and especially since Urban, I wouldn't say that was one of his strengths, you know, was shooting. So I had him come in and talk about shooting and everything. And no, the truth of it is he was in town. He called and he came over and he spent a lot of time with us. He spent time with our staff. He spent time with me, just talking, not solving problems. To him, it's a joke. He's got more problems with the Lakers, he says. But he did spend, he spent about an hour with the players alone. Because I told him I didn't want to be in there, just you talk to him, you know. And he did something pretty cool, I guess. It's just from hearsay, but he asked each player to ask him a question that he thought would help the team. That's a pretty cool idea, you know. I'd never heard of that one, so he let all 15, you know. I got to find out what the hell Steven asked him, come to think of it. But he did speak to her. It was a couple days ago. Yeah, a couple days ago. It was the day before he gave out. It was Friday because Saturday he had his big deal. That was, I guess, a real big deal. And I wish I could have gone to that, but we had practice. We had a couple of practices Saturday just to get back into form.
He stole my question. I saw him Saturday at that event, and he said he talked.
You don't look at the social media, so how the hell would you see that?
No, because I saw him. I'm not dropping names, but I saw him, and he said he talked to the team.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know you don't watch him. I was going to ask you if you look into your player's eyes when he speaks to them, but you didn't see him speak.
Oh, I introduced him, of course. You know, I mean, I walked
I'm just
in there.
wondering, though. I mean, he's God to those guys.
He really is, you know. I mean, like I said, I've been so fortunate because Matina and Steve are here a lot, and Irvin, and I mean, those are the icons of our program, and yet Irvin's Irvin, you know. And he was like, some of the freshmen, I said, well, how was that, you know, and their eyes were this big. But they were this big because they were amazed how humble and how just regular he is. And that's a gift. I told him then, I tell everybody this, if I and I'll make a lot of people mad, but if I owned a team and I wanted to pick the first player on that team, as good as Michael, I love LeBron, I loved Kobe, I mean, Larry and all the rest, but I'd take Irvin because I think what Irvin is, he's one of the greatest players, but he is by far the greatest leader and gatherer of people and motivator. And just listening to him there, we're talking about the Lakers, pro ball, college football, college basketball, we're hitting everything. I wish he was the czar for us. I wish he was the czar because I think he gets it.
Question I had is the number of fouls that are being called in these games. It seems like it's going up all the time, and players are either fouling out or they're sitting because they're in foul trouble. Is there anything can be done about it, or is there a reason there's so many more fouls?
Well, I think you can tell most of the time. I'm usually trying to encourage the officials to not do that, but you know, it's interesting. I mean, I just watched the game that I thought was pretty physical in Duke and them, and there weren't many fouls in that game. And I think that's what's so hard and frustrating for both players and coaches. And I know our guy here is, you know, Terry Weimer is in charge of the Big Ten, and he's trying to, but you know, former official, I think, gets it and is understanding it. But there is a process to that, too. There's younger officials, there's new officials, there's officials from different leagues. Officials have done what players are doing, you know, they're in their own transfer portal. They're all over the country. So you get different officials refereeing different leagues, and it's difficult. It's not an easy job. And but I would agree there, you know, you look at some of the games we played, there's been a ton of fouls, you know, and a ton of free throws. And you kind of hope it doesn't turn into a foul shooting, free throw shooting game. That's not what people want to see. But I don't know how you, I don't know. I got enough to deal with. I don't. You know, there's talk about it. They did it in the NBA one year. I think they went from 6 to 7 or whatever they went to there, and some people claim it's more physical because now the guy, you know. So I don't know. That's a very good question. I think another thing that would help that is maybe if we didn't shoot, you know, if you had quarters like where you don't shoot as many free throws and getting a bonus earlier or whatever. I'm for anything that makes it a little less physical and more play rather than free throw shooting. I'd be for that. So if you can come up with some, Fred, I'd be glad to listen, and I'll give it to my committee, who will give it to the NCAA, and they won't even do that.
You had mentioned about your relationship with Mike, but what's your relationship with John? And, I mean, obviously you've been in a similar situation replacing a legend at a school. Has he sought you out for any advice on that? Or I guess what advice could you give him?
Yeah, I don't like John because he didn't come here. I recruited him. But, no, actually, I think the world of John Shire, and he was a good high school player. He was a good player there. I did talk to him. I talked to him more last year about it, you know, as he was kind of getting to be the coach in waiting also. But, I mean, he's got one of the world's best mentors. He played for him and he coached for him. And he doesn't need anything from me except to say, you know, hang on, because there'll be some interesting things that happen. And I'm sure he, you know, feels a little different even after his second game. You know, it's not his second game of his career, but second game this year. I mean, things happen, you know, and but he'll be well prepared for it. I think he'll do a phenomenal job there, and I know this: if Mike didn't think so, he wouldn't have done it the way they did it. So, but I have talked to him a little bit. We talked on the road a little bit this summer. I think he'll do fine, and he's been very well prepared.
With Filipowski, the matchup with his height, ability to shoot from range, shot fake and drive, and post up, how uncommon has someone like that been over the years from what you've seen, and how difficult is it to match up with him?
There haven't been many guys that can do that. Ironically, he's shooting very good from the three this year. Last year, he shot 28%. I think, number one, he's improved it, which is a problem because at 7 foot, he can handle the ball, and he can put it on the floor. But, at the same time, those guards are lethal, they can all shoot it. They're very athletic. They're very quick, not real big, and so that's actually a good matchup for us because we're not real big at the guard position either. So, I don't know, guarding him is going to be, we'll have different guys on him. You looked at the last 2 games, sometimes they put a guard on him, 6'5" guard. Sometimes they put a center on him. So I'm sure we'll mix it up a little bit too.
Tom, outside of Filipowski, what are some of the things Jeremy Roach and Tyrese Proctor do well that can pose a threat to you guys?
Yeah, Proctor is, he's a pro. Everybody says he's a pro, but he's very steady. He's got size at 6'4", 6'5" for a point guard. He can handle it. He's got pretty good quickness. He can shoot it from range, or he can get inside. He does not get to the free throw line a lot. He's not as bulky as the other guards they have, but very, very good player. And so Roach is just a money guy. He just seems like, when he was a freshman or sophomore, he took those big threes against us. He had no business shooting one of them, and it went in. And that's kind of what he's done. He's taken a lot of big shots. He made a hell of a big shot the other night against Arizona to put him up to big three. He's their big shot guy, and he makes big shots, and he's comfortable with it. He's pretty good defensively. He's a very solid guard. You can tell one that's been in the program for 4 years.
Tom, as big as tomorrow is going to be for college basketball, today is the first official day for high school practice, kicking off the high school season. Any thoughts for coaches and players, anything you can share with them starting the season off?
Yeah, I think this day and age where it seems like everything runs together, we got the football playoffs going on right now. We got college football, you got pro football, you got pro basketball. There's a lot of things going on. Thank God our soccer team's still playing, There's just a ton going on, and I would say to all of them out there, listen to your coach, try to, stay away from the distractions that I say to everybody, because this is a unique time, when kids have a good summer, now they come back and try to make their team, and then they make their team, and then where are they on the list? Are they starters? Are they subs? I'd like to tell all of them there is a process to this, and enjoy the journey and enjoy the process, and try to do the best you can. And to the coaches, whatever happens in the NBA or in pro football trickles down to college. Whatever happens in college trickles down to the high schools. And I would say to them, hang on, hang on, and spend time with your kids. That's what I would tell them. Spend time the players you're coaching, because they have a lot of people that maybe don't have their best interest in mind that get a piece of them. And so I think that's one thing I tell my assistants, I tell coaches when I speak, you've got to spend time with your guys so that they know, how you feel and what's going on, and whether they're secure, whether they're playing a lot or not. We spend a lot of time with Garrick Norman. We spend a lot of time with Xavier Booker right now, Don't just do it in crisis time. Do it the whole time.